how... Oh God, they're merging a lot here. Slow down so I can get something out. It's showing teachers. It's like, but not traditional sense, just of everything, right? Of life, of people, of different industries. Leaders, I guess, is what they're showing. Leaders. But they know. Like I've heard a lot say like something like, I'm teaching you, I'm not looking for you to teach me, or something like that, or something like that. They keep flashing different scenes of similar things where I think it's saying that. Basically, they don't want to be challenged, but they worked hard to get to where they're at, to get to the understanding they've gotten to share that with others. And so they're also flashing, like that's why it says something like, go feed the lost sheep, like those who are hungry, those who are in need, those who are asking to be fed, those who are looking for the knowledge and seeking the guidance, like those who ask for help. Don't help those that don't ask for help. If somebody else thinks they know and they want to challenge you, they don't need to be. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's showing this dynamic, but it's also showing it for other reasons too. Like they're showing another scene. There's some place where it talks about, I think it was talking about like two different prophets is what they were saying, like had come into a town, or there was a prophet that was known in that town, and another prophet came into that town and told them something that was directly from the divine. And the known prophet that lived in the town, I think they were saying was like a fake. And so the real prophet was not challenging the old prophet, but was telling truth. And so the old prophet took it as a challenge because he wasn't coming from truth. So he wanted to battle the new prophet or get him out or something along these lines, and then told him to come home with him and eat in his house. He was tricking him. And the new prophet was like, no, I'm told not to stay or eat or drink, I'm leaving. And he said, no, I talked to God too. I did too. Yeah, and he said, it's all right, come on. And so the new prophet was like, huh? Okay. And so he went against God's orders and followed human orders. And so it's like that same idea where I think some teachers, depending on what they're teachers of, understanding that methodology. It's like you're getting your guidance directly. And you don't want to be a know-it-all because you don't know it all. But you know what you know, or where you were taught and told to share at that level with others. And so there's always going to be somebody greater, and there's always going to be somebody less than. Forgive me, it's that, but you understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying people are equal, but hopefully you hear that. And so it's like you're supposed to be taking your orders directly from the divine. So if you get into battle almost like with other teachers or other leaders, like stepping outside your realm of duty, so to speak, you can end up, it's like harming yourself, especially if you're like, it's like they're showing butting heads with a greater teacher. So it's like, they're just showing it this way. I am not saying this about me, but this is what they're showing. It's like I'm, quote, a greater teacher than there's a few that they're showing coming up against me to challenge me. And of course they all get crushed simply because they're showing me as like a bigger, that's it. Please forgive this language. And so the problem with them getting crushed is then now all of them are crumbled on the floor. They're hurting their heads. They're questioning themselves and everything they ever knew because some of them weren't ever getting the guidance that they claimed they were getting. They did not have the direct connection. They were not loving and honoring themselves nor the divine. They were doing it out of their ego. So one would say in religious terms, they were following the devil, although they were claiming they were following God, right? And so it's like they bumped their head and it's so swollen and sore. And so like they should have never been in the arena to begin with because they were liars. They were lying off the bat. They were false. They were the false prophet. But then there's others that were doing good work, but they just hadn't gone as far. They weren't as advanced. And so they got in their ego to want to prove themselves better than they were. Where it's like, no, don't prove that you were better than you are. You were trained to where you were trained, and you were teaching what you were teaching that was helping who it was helping. And it's like, if you want to climb higher, then you need to have that contract with the divine, so to speak. Again, forget this language. Hopefully you can hear through it. So that you know when it's time, if it's time for you to up-level, or if you still have a duty teaching at the level you're teaching because it's truly benefiting. And that's the other thing they're showing. Had that other teacher not come along, opening your eyes to new, and you then comparing and getting in your ego, comparing, you would have been still satisfied and happy with what you were doing. So it was your ego that yet again led you astray. So it's like all these people are crumbled now, but because they were operating from their ego, and that's what happens. Anytime we operate from our ego, we crumble. We're just hurting ourselves when we get out of our own alignment. We think it's something else because the ego, the devil, the allure, the illusion is very enticing. So it entices you out. It entices you out of your alignment. It entices you out of your contract, and you crumble to the ground and are just devastated by your mistake. And so it's like, of course, because the devil, the lure, is not going to tell you the crumbled disaster, the hell you'll be living in, how terrible it'll feel. They're just going to lure you away with what seems enticing. It's what your ego wants to be fed. This is why if you don't have that in check, if you're not controlling that, if you're not always checking in, it's like one wrong move, one wrong step, that one time, because it only takes one time. That's also the problem. People usually get forgiveness. Some people get too much forgiveness, so they get 1,000 forgivenesses. So they're like, it's all actually fine. 1,001, down they go. And they're like, what the fuck happened? Right? It's like you lied to yourself. You convinced yourself. You tested yourself. You were only testing yourself. You were pushing your own limits on how much you could dishonor yourself, break your own contract with yourself. It's you doing it to you forever and always. And so you have to blame you and swallow that karma. Take that accountability. I feel like there's more here. Yeah, it was the teachers. Because it was the clashing of the egos. But then they went against one they should not have gone against. And again, they just showed me so I can speak it easily. But it is like you go against that one that you're like, I don't know why you've done it before, or there was enough of you angry because it was a bunch against one. They show that a lot. And so it's everything. They're saying it's everything I'd already said. Okay. I just feel like there's so many lessons in there. Hopefully you heard them all. For all of us. These are always for me too. That's why I make all those little side notes. Okay. Thanks so much for tuning in and listening. You can now purchase an audio journey with me using the link below.